Okay, you saw on that little video the katydid was actually doing something it uses its mouth for, and that was to clean itself. They like to be clean, and it was cleaning its legs. But mainly the katydids use its mandibles, its mouth for eating, and they like to chew on leaves in particular. So they use it for cutting off pieces of leaves. They're very sharp, and they can bite, as you saw in one of those pictures early on, but they use it mainly for chewing on leaves and cutting pieces of leaves.
So katydids are leaf eaters?
Katydids are leaf eaters mainly, yes. Animals, when they're out in the wild like this, have to protect themselves, and they do it in a lot of different ways. Katydids do it in several different ways. One is they have that hard skeleton around their body, so they're hard to chew on, but that doesn't stop some animals. So they put spines on their body, and some katydids, like this one, has a very spiny back, and that's something you don't want to chew on. Imagine biting into that and having all these spines in your tongue or in your mouth or on your lips. Very painful. And of course they use camouflage too. So a different array, a combination of things to protect themselves, and spines are one really good way to protect yourself.
How can you tell if katydids are female or male?
Sometimes it's hard to tell. When they're fully grown, the female katydid may be a little larger than the male, but if you only have one, you can actually tell by looking at the underside, what we call the abdomen of the katydid, and the females and the males have different structures down there for reproduction. They're called gonopodia, and therefore reproduction. So you can tell them apart.
And that's a big word.
Gonopodia are just the reproductive structures on the outside of the body.
Wow. Ooh.
I am not sure there are a lot of katydids that give off a bad smell. That's a really, really good question, because a lot of insects have some groups that do give off odors that are warning odors. And there are a lot of arthropods in general give off odors. Sometimes we can't smell them, but some of their predators can.
They're actually a group or a species is called stink bugs, right?
That's right.
That we have back home.
Indeed, and some of the millipedes, not an insect, but millipedes give off bad odors.
Yes. Lots.
There are lots and lots. On Barro Colorado Island, I would guess there are several hundred species of katydids just on this island alone, and there are probably many, many, many more throughout the world, probably well over 1,000 different types of katydids on the planet. But right here on Barro Colorado Island, probably 200 or so species of katydids, and remember, there are probably many we don't even know about yet. Oh my. If all of the invertebrates would disappear and die, that would be the end of people, actually.
I was going to say, that's, the rest of us would die too,
the rest
right?
of us would die too. Keep in mind how many there are, first of all, to give you some appreciation for the impact it would have if we took all the invertebrates and moved them off the planet tomorrow. The weight of the ants on the planet is about equal to the weight of all the people who live on the planet. So think about that for a minute, just the ants alone, and then add to that the beetles, which are really the most common invertebrate, and all the other invertebrates. It would mean nothing would be controlling the plant life, so the plant life would just be on its own.
Be out of control.
It would be out of control.
Yes.
And it would probably eventually die off, or there'd be very few species of plants left. It means all of our food resources would be lost. Remember that a lot of the food that we eat depends on pollination. So if we lose the bees, we lose the fruit, we lose a lot of vegetables, we lose anything, a lot of the flowering plants, and that means our food supply would be gone.
And we already are experiencing that problem right back in New Jersey with a decline in the bee population.
We are, and we're going to see the impact of that pretty soon as we lose the bees, maybe because of insecticides, maybe because of climate change. We're not sure. We're going to see a decline in some of the fruits and vegetables that we eat.
How long would it take for a swarm of army ants to eat a cow?
Tough question.
And you know why I bet they're asking that question? Because in Texas, fire ants are a huge problem and kill a lot of small mammals.
They do. They do.
Yes.
And fire ants are, they've moved through a large part of the United States already. They're also remember the word non-indigenous?
Absolutely.
They don't belong in parts of the United States where we find them now. How long would it take a swarm of army ants to eat a cow? If it's a living cow, it wouldn't happen because the cow would move out of the way. So again, that's one of those movie scenes that we have. But
Right.
if you're asking how long would it take if we held the cow down and
Tied it up.
tied it up, put its hooves behind its neck, and how long a swarm of army ants would probably go through a cow in pretty much one day.
Wow. That would be like cow torture.
It would be cow torture.
Oh, that would be awful. Good question.
A lot of it is a good question, and I'm very happy that we're not. By the way, we are in the rainforest. You can hear a lot of insects around us that are calling. If we're quiet, can we pick that up? So some of those noises you hear are insects that are communicating right now.
Those are cicadas, I believe.
Those are cicadas,
Right.
the big noise in the background.
Like a mechanical noise that you hear.
Yeah.
It sounds right.
But there are a few reasons. One is we don't have a lot of mosquitoes right here because there's no small bodies of standing water nearby that mosquitoes breed in.
Right.
That's one reason. Two is we have a small breeze. Three is we're shaded right now in an area that just normally wouldn't have a lot of flying insects in it. And four, it's the dry season. And most importantly,
That is the most important one.
during the dry season, there's not a lot of reproduction going on, and we don't have a lot of those biting insects that can get very annoying when it's wet and rainy here.